Hi, everybody, and welcome to another conversation with Carrie and Dani. It's been a busy few weeks here. The weather has just been crazy in the Midwest. I think last week it was 18 degrees, I think, and then today I think it's up to 80. It's just the weirdest thing ever. But anyway, so as usual, we're picking a topic just a little bit off the fly. This one I at least looked up a couple of hours ago. Um, I found an article in Spectrum magazine. Those of you who maybe aren't familiar, it's written by Adventists. It's not certainly more on the progressive side of Adventism, but it's about the title of it is, and I'll put the link in the description of the video so you guys can look at it and read it yourself. But it's called "Beauty: A Weapon Formed Against Women," and the um, looking at all of this, it talks just about how one of the paragraphs I wanted to read is desirability often functions as the primary metric by which a woman's existence is evaluated. The author says, I have spent many years trying to understand where this obsession with and weaponization of external beauty originates. While there is no single point of our origin, and that is undeniably a multifaceted conversation, I now believe that one of the most influential forces shaping desirability politics and their consequences for women is Christianity, and more specifically, Scripture itself. Biblical narratives have played a pivotal role in forming the moral and cultural logic surrounding women's bodies. A few months ago, while studying the story of Rachel and Leah, I noticed something I'd previously overlooked. Scripture makes a point to describe their physical appearance. Leah is described as having weak or dull eyes, while Rachel is described as lovely and beautiful. It is Rachel's beauty that renders her desirable to Jacob. It kind of, it's just been interesting to look at some of these stories from that lens as to how women were treated by how they were perceived by the men in their lives, as far as they were treated as property, which had more or less desirability depending on how beautiful that they were. Is that something that you have come across, Dani, or had been thinking about at all?
I don't know. It's something that I specifically think about until you gave me this article. Um, and the reason I don't think about it a lot is because it's so normal.
Hmm. Yeah,
It's so normal. It's it doesn't make it right, but
no.
it's so normal that I think if I think about it too much, it annoys me.
Hmm.
If I think about it too much, it annoys me. Um, and yeah, I yeah, and Um, my sweetheart must be one of the only, I don't know what most men are like, but he's definitely different to the average one. And he doesn't like me talking about him in public, but I just mentioned that he's not a fan of makeup or not a fan of makeup or any of those things. And um, if I think back, I think the first time he actually said to me that he thought I looked beautiful, I was bawling my eyes out and they were red and puffy and there was snot hanging out my nose. And I was in farm clothes and I had hay in my hair because I've been feeding the horses. And I'm like, are you mad? And the reason it came as such a shock is because I grew up in a world where that wasn't so.
Yeah.
So so Carrie sent this article to me this morning. She's in a different time zone to me, so by the time I got up and had breakfast, I only had time to have a quick squint at it. So I don't really
Hmm.
know what's here. We might have to come back to this at a later date, Carrie, because I reckon I'm going to have some more opinions on it than what I realize. So guys, this is a little bit on the fly. For those of you that get to listen and you have time for deeper thought, please share as we go through this your thoughts in the comments um
Hmm.
and yeah. So I looked up that initial Bible verse and that's exactly what it says. I'm in the New International Version.
Hmm.
Um and that was
Genesis
where am I?
29,
Genesis
17.
29:17. Yep, and it says exactly that. Now Laban had two daughters. The name of the elder one was Leah. The name of the younger was Rachel. Leah had weak eyes, but Rachel had a lovely figure and was beautiful. Jacob was in love with Rachel.
Hmm. Nothing
How did
about
he
her
get?
character, just how pretty she was.
Yeah, yeah. And when we read the rest of the story, I mean, okay, I mean, a lot of it's made about Leah's bitterness and jealousy later on, but she had really good reason. And if the currency of the day was actually, it was a really good thing to have lots of children, then
Yeah.
Leah, she had the most kids, she did all sorts of really cool things, but no,
Yeah.
no,
And
he
women
still
women were
loved the pretty
so
one.
so much viewed as property and an exchange of goods. You know, when you married somebody, there was the dowry and everything, and they were more of an accessory to the husband than and for sure than an equal. They weren't even close. Um and it's just interesting too as I get older, thinking more about how beauty, the world's definition of beauty tends to, some people believe is diminishing as you get older. You know, I've had a couple of kids, little saggy skin here and there, way more than I used to, you know, and all that stuff. But I am so blessed to have a husband who's similar to your sweetheart, where he would rather I never wear makeup. He just doesn't like it, and so that's great for me because I don't know how to put it on and make it look nice.
Um,
You
the
know, so
article made it so it's not fair. Did you see that thing in the article? Sorry, Carrie, I got really excited when I saw this because I'd never realized it until someone else mentioned it. Okay.
yep.
It's not, so you're talking about the men seeing things differently.
Hmm.
So the guy in the Bible story, Laban, he wasn't like your sweetheart or mine.
Yeah.
He knows he's got one beautiful daughter and one that, isn't so beautiful, and that beauty's the currency of the day, and it still is today, let's be honest, a lot of the time,
Oh
most
yeah.
of the time. Um, so not just not just Jacob is complicit in this whole let's pick the pretty one, but
Hmm.
so is his uncle Laban, because he uses the fact that one's prettier than the other to get, well, to get what he wants. So
Yeah.
he tricks, right? He tricks Jacob into marrying the one that's not so pretty, and
Hmm.
then he gets that one married, and he doesn't have to worry about ending up with her and not having her married off to someone else.
Right.
And he also uses the fact that one's prettier than the other. He exploits that beauty to arrange life so that he gets double the amount of free work
Right.
out of Jacob.
And we see a lot of it in a lot of these stories that the article mentioned, um, about how men were using the women's beauty to their advantage, or they were to, because Sarah and Rebecca were both very beautiful, and their husbands weren't protecting them. They were scared for their own lives, and so they stuck them in the, let the foreign kings take them into a harem, So Isaac repeats the same thing that his dad did. I mean, we hold these men in very high esteem as the founders of the world, Christianity, Judaism, all this thing, but then they're really cowards. They didn't even stand up for their wives who they were supposedly loved. Um, and then would talk about Esther, where she was human
Whoa,
trafficked
slow
in,
down.
yeah,
Slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down.
yeah,
Don't go through them so fast, because
okay.
I think we need to throw some Bible verses in here so people
Oh,
know where to
sure.
find some of this information.
Yeah.
And Abraham, I mean, whoa, slow down. So, uh,
I get too
okay,
excited
so
and want to just get in there.
no, slow down, slow down. I don't want to miss some really good stuff. So, I can't pull out a Bible verse to prove what I'm going to say about this
Okay.
because it's just what I've observed in the church.
Hmm.
Okay. And so we were talking, and it'll probably come up in one of the ones you've got scheduled to talk about. But one of the things I've seen growing up in the culture in the church I grew up in is that, um, if you're not beautiful, then you need to at least be useful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need to talk about these things more because um, the article mentioned at some point at the beginning, I don't remember what it said, but I just remember reading the word about desire, that a woman's desirability is linked to the value of her existence.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I really believe that we grew up in a culture. I don't know about you, but I grew up in a culture where if you weren't beautiful, you at least needed to be useful. And being useful doesn't make a woman's heart come alive. When somebody says, "Oh, you're so useful," being useful doesn't make a woman's heart come alive in the same way that being desired does.
Hmm.
We don't have a whole Bible verse in Song of Solomon that talks about how wonderful it is to be useful.
Right. True.
The whole thing's about desire.
Hmm.
I mean, desire is a whole ginormous topic in itself. So
Hmm.
don't let me get off track. Bring me back to the women you wanted to talk about.
Okay.
But I just wanted to highlight that because I think it gets missed. I've never met a woman whose heart came alive and they became their best selves when
Right.
when they
Well,
were
and
useful.
I think you're talking about Leah as well, that she, she became very useful because she had a bunch of kids and all this stuff, but yet her heart, I'm sure, was never as fulfilled as Rachel was because she always knew she was second class because she wasn't as desired, or as favored or as loved as Rachel.
And so, what we don't know is if the sisters were better friends before all this happened, how they got on. Maybe the sisters had no idea that one of them was worth more than the other because of their beauty. And everything was fine until blokes turned up and went, actually, yeah, you're prettier.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
there's so much that the Bible doesn't, I mean, because we only get just a few sentences about a lot of these women to try to extrapolate a little bit about their lives, you know. Um,
yeah. And so you mentioned Abraham and
mhm.
Sarah, she's called.
Mhm.
So I just want to just quickly touch on that. So that's in Genesis 12.
Mhm.
And starts in verse 10. And I'm just going to read this little bit here. The verse 10 said there was famine in the land, and Abram is going down to Egypt because the famine was severe. And here it goes. I've got to read this because it's so terrible. As he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife, I know what a beautiful woman you are. When the Egyptians see you, well, they will say, this is his wife,
Mm.
and they will kill me but let you live. So he picked someone he thought was beautiful. It sounds like he really wanted a beautiful wife and was proud of the fact. But then
Mhm.
when push comes to shove, he's like, oh, you know what? You're so beautiful that people are going to kill me and let you live. And it's not fair that you should die and I live. And so, you know what? Let's lie about who you are to protect myself.
Mm.
It's not even that he didn't protect her. Let's
Mhm.
just look at let's go deeper into that. It's not just that he didn't protect her, it's that he was prepared to sacrifice her to
Yeah.
advance himself.
Yes. Yeah.
I
It,
mean, if I wasn't on the internet, I'd be saying, what an a-hole.
right. Yeah.
I mean, if this was your neighbor and if this was your neighbor and this was my neighbor's husband, I'd be saying, oh, come on, you got to leave this prick. He's not treating you right, seriously.
Right. Yeah.
And I think we get so excited about the fact that Abraham was the father of many nations and God did all this stuff that
Mhm.
we either overlook or it's never mentioned or we're forgiven or it's just brushed over. When I heard these Bible stories, or this one about, I mean, I've known this story my whole life,
Yeah.
but it was always told in a way that, oh, it was such a beautiful thing that she was so pretty that he said, oh, you're my sister. And it's just all glossed over like he was a wonderful person for doing it because
Right.
it was just a little wee white lie just to try and make life go smoothly. But if you think
Right.
about what happened, I mean, Pharaoh's whole household, it says in verse 17, was inflicted with serious diseases.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I
Pharaoh
mean,
figured it out
Pharaoh was
pretty
going
quickly. Yeah.
Pharaoh was going to have sex with her.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
because that's why she was put there.
Abraham, Pharaoh's whole household was inflicted with serious diseases because
Hmm.
Abraham he was not a nice person. At, in this, well, in this story, he's not nice. And I'm not impressed.
No, there's not, I mean, there's not a ton of, I mean, I think when he pled for Lot's life or the life of the people in Sodom and Gomorrah, I suppose that was kind of nice, but I don't know. My husband and I are slowly working on reading through the Bible together, and there's a lot of not nice stories in the Old Testament.
So I know what it is. When you say it like that, I remember what, but that it's hard sometimes. I have this vague, irritable feeling about something, and I can't put into words why it annoys me. When you said it, that's why. Okay, so what annoys me is that so often this has been the story of, oh, Abraham wasn't perfect, but God can use not perfect people.
Yep.
And it's used in the world I lived in, it was used as a story of, oh, look, see how much God can forgive you. But it wasn't considered in a way that says we've grown up reading the Bible. So much of everything we believe comes from the Bible. And this is how the stories in there have impacted the way women are treated today, the way our lives have gone, the way your life's gone, the way my life's gone.
Hmm.
If your daughter stays inside a religious institution or even in the, I mean, people will say, oh, it's out in the real world now, not just in the religious world. But there was a time when the two were the same.
Yeah. And here in the
Um,
US, there are certain parties who are trying to make it the same again, and they use a lot of um Old Testament stories, I think, to excuse behavior of some of our governmental executives and administration to be like, oh well, if God can use Abraham or if God can use David, God can use other people who have caused a lot of problems. And it's becoming to where women in the United States right now are being faced with the potential of not being able to vote again.
oh my goodness, I saw some stuff about that, Carrie. I
Hmm.
was so annoyed.
Yeah, so in the US, those of you who are not in the US, in order to vote, now asking for ID, which I think is absolutely reasonable. You should have a driver's license
Yeah.
or something to go in and vote. Um,
Yeah.
but they're trying to make it so you have to prove your citizenship in order to vote, which means as a married woman, luckily I have a passport, so that shows my citizenship in my current name that matches my me. If I was not so fortunate to have a passport, if I'm a married woman, let alone a divorced and then remarried again woman, you have to have a legal paper trail to show all of that. So that means, so I have a friend that's been divorced once and remarried. So that means she would have to have her birth certificate, her first marriage license, her divorce certificate, her next marriage license, and a current ID. You have to show that paper trail in order to vote. So many people, like, I have a passport, so I should be good, but I might have to re-register. Who knows? And they're trying to take away mail-in voting, so it's specifically targeting people who maybe don't have that paper trail, married women, or other things. For men, it's just a birth certificate and a current ID to show you're a citizen. It's just crazy stuff. Just crazy, and I think a lot of people who are supporting that don't understand the bigger, greater impact that it's going to be. There are certain extreme pastors who are calling for the repeal of the 19th Amendment, which allowed women to vote in the United States. They're trying to get rid of that because, our husbands can vote for us. Mm-mm.
The thing that stands out when we start looking in depth and taking time to think about the story of Abraham
Mm-hmm.
and Sarah, or Abram and Sarai as they were called back then. I know you've got a whole longer list of women to get through. But the thing is that unless there's something missing in the Bible story, I'm really peeved about how casually and easily he just sacrificed the safety of the woman in his life to save himself. And that annoys me because I was going to say, I worked with abused women in my work as a counselor, and I worked with women in violent relationships, and I
Mm-hmm.
worked with women and kids that weren't valued. Um,
Yeah.
But now I'm stopping and starting to think, I don't know, I have to think about this some more. Because when I think about the church culture I grew up in the Adventist church,
Hmm.
I think that I was taught, while I was taught that men and women were made in the image of God and men and women are both equally valuable, that the way I was treated was definitely that as a woman, it was better to sacrifice me than a bloke. And I've seen that over and over, um, in and out of the church across the world, full stop. But like we said, the original laws of the land and the original, stuff, so much of our sayings, like there's no rest for the wicked, all the colloquialisms and stuff we have, they all, they come from that Christian based stuff.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm not impressed with that at the moment. Um, did you have another lady on this list? Sorry.
And then, well, Abraham did that to Sarah twice. There were two different, he was in Egypt and then another kingdom, I think Abimelech or somewhere. So he did that to her
Oh, I
twice.
forgot about that.
It was twice. So
Seriously.
again, it was in Genesis 12 was the first one, and then in Genesis 20, verse 2, it was um Abraham said of his wife Sarah, she is my sister, and King Abimelech of Gerar sent and took Sarah. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, you are about to die because of the woman you have taken, for she is a married woman. Now Abimelech had not approached her, so he said, Lord, will you destroy an innocent people? Did he not say to himself, did he not himself say to me, she is my sister? And she herself said, he is my brother. I did this in the integrity of the heart of my heart and the innocence of my hands. Then God said to him in the dream, yes, I know you did this in the integrity of your heart, and furthermore, it was I who kept you from sinning against me. Therefore, I did not let you touch her. Now then, return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you shall live. But if you do not restore her, know that you shall surely die, and you and all that are yours. So Abraham basically put the life of another king of the king in danger by sending Sarah. Like he's like, oh, I'm scared. It worked the first time in Egypt, so I'm gonna do it again. You know, again. And then Rebecca, who's the daughter-in-law of Sarah, Isaac's husband, repeated the pattern in Genesis 26, verse 7. Says that Rebecca was very beautiful as well. I mean, I guess they knew how to pick their women to be pretty, but let's see.
I, yep, Isaac and Abimelech. I've got that one up. That's the one you were just talking about.
Yeah, so 20, yeah, Abimelech again. So that's interesting. It's the same king that his dad, unless there was a second one that was King Abimelech, but it was the same city, the same name of the king.
Oh my goodness, I've never looked at the story clearly. Look at this carefully, right?
Yeah.
So, um, um, uh, so this is during famine, and okay, at the beginning, Isaac went to Abimelech. God appeared to Isaac and said, "Do not go to Egypt and live in the land. Um, do not go to Egypt, live in the land where I tell you. Stay in this land for a while." Blah blah blah. And then Abraham obeyed, and he keeps the commands, and blah blah blah. So Isaac stayed in this town, and it says, when the men of that place asked him about his wife, he said, she is my sister. He was
Mhm.
afraid to say, she is my wife. He thought these men might kill me on account of Rebecca because she is beautiful.
What a
And when,
pansy.
isn't it so? When Isaac had been there a long time, it says, when Isaac had been there a long time, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked down from a window and saw Isaac caressing his wife Rebecca.
Hmm.
So this time, instead of God telling him in a dream, the king looks out the window and sees what he thinks is this bloke Isaac inappropriately caressing his sister
Yeah.
that he was actually married to, but he was keeping a secret. I mean, seriously. And of course, oh, rightly so, the king was angry. Why
Yeah.
have you lied? I thought I might lose my life on account of her.
Yep. Yeah. And then the one that bothers me the most, I'm just seeing how much time we've only got about 10 minutes. So I don't know if we want to go into Bathsheba right now.
Oh, well, if you stick with this one for a minute, because I'm annoyed with God.
Yeah?
Abimelech said, "What have you done to us? One of us might have slept with your wife," verse 10.
Mm-hmm.
"And you would have brought guilt on us." So Abimelech gave orders to all the people. Anyone who harms this man or his wife should surely be put to death. So here it looks to me like Abimelech's being really nice, and Isaac's going, "Oh, I'm scared they're going to kill me to steal my beautiful wife." So Abimelech's going, "No one's allowed to kill this man." So Abimelech's protecting the lily-livered, weak-assed Isaac.
Yes.
Okay, he's protecting him, the
Mm-hmm.
little liar. And then it
Mm-hmm.
says, Isaac planted crops in the land, and the same year reaped a hundredfold because the Lord blessed him. The man became rich and continued, his wealth continued until he became very wealthy, and he had blah, 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 blah. And then Abimelech kicks him out because become too big and powerful. So, before I get too annoyed with God, I need to consider a couple of things, I guess. One, that we don't know exactly what this said in the language it was written in,
Right.
and we don't know how well it was translated.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We had that thing with Jane about how the Bible was translated and who did it and everything, but I'm still convinced sometimes that the Bible, it's not just how the Bible was translated. The Bible was written by men.
Mm-hmm.
It was written by men that lived in a culture where men had the power and women didn't. So all the stories are told from that perspective. We
Sure.
we don't actually know.
Mm-hmm.
So these guys are saying that, oh, okay, the king stepped in and protected Isaac, and then God blessed him and gave him all this stuff, but we don't actually know.
Yeah. Well, and they have to
We don't.
condense it down to whatever points that the people who wrote it at the time thought were most important.
Yeah. So the people at that time thought Isaac had all that stuff because God blessed him, but we don't know that for sure. For all we know, he just happened to have picked a piece of the valley that had more rainfall off the side of the hills.
Yeah.
This is
Who
just
knows?
someone else's perspective of what they saw from the outside and thought, oh, this little lily-livered heathen's been blessed by God.
Yeah. It's and just the materialism, and you see all of that. And then part of it too is you look and how much more righteous was Abimelech in this moment than Isaac or Abraham when during that where he's just like, if you only you would have told me. I think I'm thinking that this is almost a perfect example of how we assume people who aren't part of our belief system or part of our group are bad, are going to do things horribly. So Isaac and Abraham both assumed going into Egypt or going into the kingdom of King Abimelech that they would kill him and steal his wife. When within in reality, in this instance, these particular leaders of those foreign countries, foreign kingdoms, however they referred to them at that time, tribes, um, were more moral and ethical than these men that we have held up as fathers of our religion.
Wow, when you put it like that, I know we've talked about this before, so I won't go into it in depth,
Hmm.
but it just reminds me of growing up, how I was taught. As an Adventist, I belong to the one and only true church. And in the end times, all these people are going to grab me and persecute me, and you can't trust the non the non-remnant special followers of God. And
Hmm.
I've found similar things to what you'd just said in the Bible. I found so often that the really, really moral and so many of the really moral and upstanding and kind people I've met don't claim to be followers of God, the same as the person that did the right thing in this story was, technically, I guess what you'd call the heathen king,
Hmm.
not the Israelite or Christian or Bible following one or God following fearing one. So, and I've found it like that in life too.
Yeah.
It's interesting that these stories aren't told to us as an example of not to judge.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, I'm a bit annoyed. Did you have anything else you wanted to say? I don't think we should go into Bathsheba yet either. I think we might have to save her for the next one. I
I
think we
think
should do another one.
yeah, we'll do more about women in the Bible. And I think one thing I'll just say quickly, and I think what gives us hope is in the New Testament, especially the teachings of Jesus, I think he does a lot to equalize women. There's conversations where he is having a direct conversation with women about faith and about life. And that was something that was just unheard of in the Jewish culture for a man to sit and have a conversation with a woman. And
Absolutely.
he really, I think, undid a lot of this inequality in my mind that I see a lot of it in the Old Testament. There's a few instances in the New Testament with some of the controversial writings of Paul about women preachers and all that jazz that we're certainly not going to get into at the moment. Um, but Jesus valued every single soul, regardless of male, female, young, or old. And I think that that's something that we need to emulate and find value in people that don't believe or look the same as us. Like he had a conversation with a Samaritan woman, which was even way worse than a Jewish man having a conversation with a Jewish woman. He had a conversation with a Samaritan woman,
Yep.
and I take a lot of comfort as a woman from that and knowing that he values women as much as he values men, and not in a different
Absolutely.
way, in the same way.
Yep. I just want to encourage people. So it looks like we're going to do another video and we're going to chat about Bathsheba. But if there's any other women that we don't cover, or even if someone that we have talked about and you think we've missed some points and you'd like to share your personal experience of what it's like to be growing up a female in a world that's not always kind to, or that judges females differently. Value is connected to beauty, whereas quite often a man's is connected to, I don't know what, money, prestige. Don't
Hmm.
know. Well, that's the things they value themselves by. I certainly don't value a man by those things. There's different things that I look for. But
Hmm.
the point I was going to make is you don't just put it in the comments, but outside of that, come on the show. Come take
Yes.
a 15, 20-minute shot slot. Tell us your story. Tell us the bit that impacted you. Tell us what lady in the Bible gives you hope, or what lady in the Bible you think got a really raw deal and why.
Yeah.
Come fill the gaps we've missed. We've always got space if we can work out time zones, let's be fair,
Yeah,
to
that takes a lot of math and yep.
come and speak.
All right. Well, we'll close with a quick our appeal, like and subscribe. We'll see you next time. And I think one of our next ones coming up. I don't know if it'll be the next one we post, but one or two after, I think we're going to be talking a little bit about Bathsheba and her story. And I think that that one's going to be got a lot of good stuff in there, or bad stuff, I guess is how you would say. But um, we'll see all of you later, and please like and subscribe.